Today on the newscast, 4 major breaking Middle East stories breaking today. It's a wars and rumors of war update next. Hey folks, Erick Stakelbeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast. Another 4th of July holiday is in the books here in the United States, but the fireworks are just beginning in the Middle East. We've got 4 major breaking stories today, Thursday, July 6th, out of the world's most volatile, chaotic, and strategic region, the Middle East. We've got a rocket launched from southern Lebanon, Hezbollah land against Israel. Israel responds. Also, Israeli airstrikes near Damascus. Russian fighter jets harassing U.S. drones over Syria, and the air forces of Russia and Syria, the regime of Bashar al-Assad, conducting joint drills this week in certainly what is a message to the United States and Israel. We're going to break all of this down and the prophetic implications in a minute. Before I do, just a quick reminder to subscribe to the Watchman News channel right here on YouTube and click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. Folks, as you can see, things are happening so rapidly in the Middle East, and these events that are unfolding there will not just stay there, it will affect you profoundly no matter where you live, and we have got the inside story each and every day for you here on the Watchman News channel. And by the way, these are stories that the mainstream media, surprise, surprise, is largely ignoring, so you will want to keep it right here. And a quick reminder, by popular demand, we now have the Watchman store. If you want to grab some Watchman merch, just go to shop.tbn.org/Watchman. Some cool t-shirts, hats, mugs, just in time for the summer, so check that out as well. Okay, let's break it down. Let's get into it. Let's start in southern Lebanon. We've talked a lot here, obviously, on the newscast in recent years about the ring of fire that surrounds Israel right now on all sides, whether it's Hezbollah in Lebanon, Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad in Gaza, the Houthis to the further south in Yemen, of course the Iran-backed militias in Syria and Iraq, and Iran is also trying to open a new front now in Judea and Samaria, which the world calls the West Bank. So needless to say, Iran wants to open a multi-front war against Israel in what seems to be the not-so-distant future. Increasingly, it looks that way as Iran is becoming more bold, and we saw yet another example of that today. A rocket launched from southern Lebanon into Israeli territory. Now, you might say, well, big deal, it's one rocket. Well, folks, let me tell you, in today's Middle East, expect the unexpected. It is an absolute powder keg, and one seemingly stray rocket can provoke a major conflict in the region. That's how volatile it is in the Middle East right now. So this rocket is launched from southern Lebanon, which I cannot stress enough is the power base of Hezbollah, Iran's most lethal proxy. Israel responded, launched artillery at the area from where the rocket was launched in southern Lebanon, and things seem to have quieted down now, for now at least. This is a persistent and recurring problem now, folks, where projectiles are being launched not just from Gaza, which is bad enough, but from southern Lebanon as well. And they're not necessarily being launched by Hezbollah. In April, we had dozens of rockets launched by Hamas in southern Lebanon. What we have here is a situation where Hezbollah obviously rules over southern Lebanon with an iron fist, but it is allowing groups like Hamas and other Palestinian terror groups to operate there as well under Hezbollah's watchful and supportive eye. And then Hezbollah has plausible deniability in their view. Hey, we didn't do it. Oh yes, but you urged and armed the groups that did actually launch the rockets against Israel. What Hezbollah is doing in southern Lebanon is copying what its masters in Tehran do writ large, right? Where Iran directs and arms, funds, supports all of these terror proxies in the region. The proxy strike, and then Iran said, hey, we had nothing to do with it. Let's call it implausible deniability, but that's what Iran does again and again. Hezbollah doing it as well. And this is significant, folks, this incident out of Lebanon today, because it shows you once again the multi-front potential. The future conflict that is coming, we've talked about it frequently here in the newscast, will not just be Gaza and Israel or Israel and Lebanon. It will be a multi-front affair, folks. The ring of fire will ignite, rockets, missiles, attack drones. Here's the good news. Number one, Israel is prepared. Israeli leaders know that the next engagement will indeed be a multi-front war. And number two, and much more importantly, God Almighty still sits on the throne, and when it comes to Israel, he neither slumbers nor sleeps. So I believe that Israel's enemies are in for quite a surprise in this future engagement, and not the kind of surprise that will be very beneficial for them. Okay, let's move on to the next story. Speaking of those multiple fronts, Israel carried out overnight airstrikes near the Syrian capital of Damascus, according to reports out of the region, targeting advanced Iranian weapons near the Syrian capital. Now, folks, how many times have we seen this over the past few years? Damascus, in particular, Damascus International Airport is the transit point for Iranian weapons shipments coming through Syria on their way into southern Lebanon, where they will be delivered into the hands of Hezbollah. In particular, these PGMs, precision-guided munitions. Precision-guided munition parts are shipped through Syria on their way to Lebanon, and then Hezbollah will look to assemble these. They do exactly what their name says. These missiles are designed to hit a target with greater accuracy, greater precision. For Israel, it's a non-starter. This would be an absolute game changer for Hezbollah to get its hands on vast quantities of these PGMs. Already, Hezbollah undoubtedly has at least some in its arsenal. Israel, while it has done a tremendous job in taking out these Iranian weapons shipments and Iranian weapons factories in Syria over the years, you have to think, folks, that certainly at least some of these shipments have sadly gotten through and made their way into the hands of Hezbollah. Story number three out of the four big stories in the region today, the U.S. military says that Russian fighter jets harassed 3 U.S. drones over eastern Syria near the Iraq border. Now, apparently, these Russian fighter jets dropped parachute flares in front of these drones, and also one of the jets turned on its afterburner in front of one of these U.S. drones and blocked its path. So harassment, I think, is the appropriate word here, and it's been happening, according to U.S. officials, dozens of times it's happened since March 2023 alone. In just the past few months, the U.S., of course, blasted Russia for reckless and inappropriate behavior, but Russia sees that response and sees it as a toothless response, folks, to be very blunt. We reported here in the newscast about a month ago, not even a month ago, that the U.S. was sending several F-22 fighter jets to the region to counter this constant Russian harassment, and yet the Russian harassment continues of U.S. forces in Syria. Remember, obviously, U.S. fighter jets and drones are flying over that country still. There's some 900 U.S. soldiers on the ground there in Syria as well. And folks, make no mistake about it, the ultimate goal of Russia and the Iranian regime and the likes of Hezbollah is to push U.S. forces out of the region entirely for good. And with the current administration in Washington, D.C., they see a golden opportunity to do just that. Last story here, last big one today. As Israel is conducting airstrikes near Damascus, as Russian fighter jets are harassing U.S. drones over Syria, the Russian and Syrian air forces are conducting joint drills over the next 6 days over Syria. Now, folks, clearly a message to the United States that, hey, we rule the skies here, Russia and the Assad regime are saying, over Syria. Secondly, I believe a message to Israel as well. More on that in a minute. But in the past, we've seen Russian and Syrian fighter jets fly joint patrols along the Golan border, along the Israel-Syria border, on the Syrian side of the Golan Heights. Obviously, in the shadow of Israel, Israel is well aware of this. They've seen it over the years. Now, for the next 6 days, We'll have the Russian and Syrian air forces conducting joint drills, and Israel can't feel very good about that because I believe, folks, that this fits into a continuing trajectory that Israel and Russia are on. Right now, it is a diplomatic, a collision course in many ways, where Russia has openly aligned itself with Israel's greatest enemies, entities that are devoted to the destruction of the world's one and only Jewish state. At the top of that list, of course, is the Iranian regime, and then you have the Assad regime in Syria, Hezbollah. Russia is aligned openly and strongly with all of these anti-Israel forces at Israel's doorstep, no less, in Syria. And I believe what we will see eventually is what I call a great betrayal, where Russia will turn against Israel, and in a future prophetic war. We've talked about it many times from the newscast, outlined in the book of Ezekiel, chapters 38 and 39. Funny name, I know, the War of Gog and Magog, but it's a war, a future event that you will want to know. I believe Russia and Iran will align together with a number of other nations in the region to come against Israel in the days to come. The good news is they don't get very far, and the God of Israel intervenes in a mighty way. And those forces, that invasion force, Ezekiel calls it a latter days invasion force, they meet their demise on the mountains of Israel. But nonetheless, we see the prophetic chess pieces moving on the board right now, and all the activity in Syria is just another indicator of that. Whew. A lot going on today, folks. Again, 4 major stories. We're following all of this very closely. Until next time, thanks so much for joining us. God bless you, and remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.